As per our discussion last week we tried to solve many questions in plant kingdom and animal kingdom in the first unit. Some of the students found it a little difficult to answer the questions. So, what we decided was we will go through or summarize the chapters, both the chapters, today. But let me tell you, this in the unit one, the plant kingdom and animal kingdom is pretty big. I'm not sure if we can summarize the entire both the chapters today. We will try our best. Anyway, you are very familiar by now with the two chapters, isn't it? You would have, most of you are in 12th already, and this is 11th standard portion, and you would be familiar with all these things by now. It's just brushing up a little, that's all. Even for that, the chapter is quite big. So we will try our best to just go through and summarize. Okay. All right. So let me share a PowerPoint presentation with you. Are you all able to see this?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. See, actually, first we will start with the plant kingdom because this is relatively simple when you compare it with the animal kingdom. See, everywhere it has, first of all, as Sir Keshamurthy sir was saying, mentioning, there are so many informations in all these chapters. I mean, it's a compilation of so many information and details. So it's not enough. It's not just the concept you need to understand and just answer the question. It's not going to be like that in biology. Like like how you do in maths. You if you want to answer a particular problem, you should know the concept. That's it. But here, if you want to answer a question, you should know so many details, and every detail is connected to something else. And you have to know the meaning, terminology. You should be familiar with all these things, and you should know I mean, how to use and how it is identified, and so many things are there. So that's why it's making it more difficult when it's coming to competitive exams in biology. All right, now let's not worry about that now. At this point, let's try to recollect whatever we have done in the 11th standard so that we are able to answer a class test next week. All right. So now let's start with the plant kingdom. So plant kingdom has a lot of subdivisions, like one by one we are going to see. That is system of biological classification. So what are the three classification in system of biological classification? Artificial system, natural system, and phylogenetic system. See, phylogenetic system, we have already answered a question in this. If you remember, yesterday we answered, last week we answered a question in this. Okay, now artificial classification systems, what is it? Carl Linnaeus, actually, earliest system of classification. So they were based on vegetative characters or superficial morphological characters. Morphological means outward appearance and general, how the plant is, what are all the parts of the plant, and what is the vegetation, how it vegetates. I mean, like those characters, based on those characters, such as habit, color, number, shape of leaves, leaves, etc. So many. I mean, if you take a particular plant, there are so many features are there, so many morphological characters are there, vegetative character is there. I mean, what we are able to see from outside. So based on that, the classification was done. So Linnaeus artificial system of classification was based on the andresium structure. So andresium structure you can see in the very little advanced plants. Now, this artificial classification systems, what is the drawback of this? They separated the closely related species since they were based on a few characteristics. See, when you combine, different species, we have already seen how the classification is done. So there are so many characteristics are there, and based on that, we classify them into a particular phylum or family or order or whatever. But this classification has a very limited, characteristics. That's why the closely related species are separated. I mean, they are not classified under this. So equal weightage to vegetative and sexual characteristics are given. So, I mean, if that is the case, I mean, the classification will not be all right. So, this is not acceptable since the vegetative character are more easily affected by environment. And then the natural, so that is a artificial classification. So, randomly, I mean, seeing the outward appearance, they classify it into something, but then it has its own drawbacks. Now, the natural classification systems, these are based on natural affinities among organisms. It considers external features and internal features, ultrastructure, anatomy, and then embryology, phytochemistry. Example classification for flowering plants given by George Bentham and Joseph Dalton Hooker. All right. Now the third one is phylogenetic classification of system. This system is based on evolutionary relationships, like how they are connected, their common ancestors and all that. So this assumes that organisms in the same taxa, I mean the same class, I mean the same group, have a common ancestor. All right. Now, other sources to resolve the problem in classification, what are they? Numerical taxonomy. Numerical taxonomy is based on all observable characteristics. It is carried out using computers. Numbers and codes are assigned to all the characters and the data are processed. Thus, hundreds of characters can be equally considered. Cytotaxonomy, it is based on cytological information like chromosome, number, structure, behavior, etc. Then chemotaxonomy, it uses a chemical constituents of plants. So based on all this, they classify. Or other resources for classification. So with this biological classification, we have seen. Now next is algae. Algae. See, algae is a simple thalloid autotrophic. Autotrophic is they make their own food. They prepare their own food using chlorophyll and sunlight. So simple thalloid, simple means, there is no complication, stem, roots, or so many things are not there. Simple. Thalloid means like a leaf-like structure is there. Flat leaf-like structure is there. That is a thalloid. Autotrophic, chlorophyll bearing and aquatic, freshwater or marine organisms. They also occur in moist stones, soils, and wood. Some occur in association with fungi, that is the lichens. And animals in sloth bear, like sloth bear, you can see the sloth bear here in the left side of the slide. So the green color of the sloth bear, on the skin, is because of the algae present. So it in association with the fungi or animals. All right, algae form and sizes. They are classified, they can be microscopic unicellular form. That is the example is Chlamydomonas. Then colonial form, I mean, they stay together as a group. That is bulwarks. Then filamentous form, Eulothrix and Spirogyra. These, I mean, you can see the diagrams here, Eulothrix and Spirogyra. And then how is the reproduction? Vegetative reproduction, asexual, sexual are all there. But how it is done? Vegetative reproduction occurs by fragmentation. That is, each fragment develops into thallus. And from that, the algae develops fully. And then asexual reproduction is by production of spores. So zoospores most common. They are flagellated motile. They germinate and gives rise to new plants. Sexual reproduction through fusion of gametes. And then this reproduction, sexual reproduction, is by many ways. Isogamous is fusion of gametes similar in size. They may be flagellated or non-flagellated. Flagellated is example of Eulothrix, and non-flagellated is Spirogyra. You have to remember these things. See, because questions may come as Spirogyra is flagellated or non-flagellated, motile or non-motile, something like that. Options may be given. So you should be able to know how the gametes in Spirogyra are there, Eulothrix are there. I mean, this is what we say details. So you have to pay attention to these details. So anisogamous, fusion of two gametes dissimilar in size. So one can be big and one can be small. Some species of Eudorina. And then oogamous. Oogamous is the fusion of one large non-motile static female gamete and a small motile and male gamete. That is, a male gamete swims to the female gamete. So female gamete is very big and not motile. That is, it does not have a flagella, so it can't swim. So that kind of fusion is volvox and fucus. All right. Now, what is the benefits of algae? Through photosynthesis, they fix half of the total carbon dioxide on Earth and increase the level of dissolved oxygen. So they are primary producers and the basic of food cycles of all aquatic animals. Benefit, and about 70 species of marine algae are used as food. Porphyra, laminaria, and sargassum. They are all, I mean, used in food and for various purposes. And one of them is agar. This is used like a, what to say, generally jelly is obtained from some form of fish. It's this agar is a non-vegetarian form of jelly from Gelidium and Gracilia, is used to grow microbes in ice creams and jellies. Some marine brown and red algae produce hydrocolloids, water holding substances, algin, brown algae, and carrageen or red algae. These are used commercially for coloring and in food. So, protein rich unicellular algae like chlorella, spirulina are used as food supplements by space travelers. And space travelers can't carry food like what we eat. So it'll all be in tablet form. So they take tablets. I mean, when they take tablets, when they are in space, it should be self-sufficient. I mean, it should hold nutrients and it should give calories and I mean all the essential nutrients should be there. So those kind of food supplements, I mean, they use protein rich because chlorella and spirulina has high protein. They use that in the food supplement. All right, algae classification. Classes of algae, there are different types of algae. Chlorophyceae, that is the green algae. Phaeophyceae, that is the brown algae. And rhodophyceae, that is the red algae. Chlorophyceae is unicellular, colonial, and filamentous. Usually grass green due to pigments chlorophyll A and B in chloroplasts. The chloroplast may be discoid, plate like, reticulate, cup shaped, spiral, or ribbon shaped in different species. Okay, so this is about the chlorophyceae. And most of them have one or more pyrenoids, that is, a storage bodies. You can see the diagram. It's like a vacuole. See, can you see the blue circle-like thing? That's the pyrenoid. It stores food there, located in chloroplast. That's inside the chloroplast. Pyrenoids contains protein besides starch. So it stores food basically, starch and proteins. Some algae stores food as oil droplets. They have rigid cell wall made of an inner cellulose layer and an outer pectose layer. So, I mean, two layers they've got, cellulose and pectose. And then most of them have one or more pyroids located in chloroplast. Pyrenoids, I mean, as we already saw. And the examples are Chlamydomonas, Volvox, Urothrix, Spirogyra, and Cara. So whatever examples we saw, they are all green algae. And then reproduction. Vegetative reproduction, asexual and sexual. All the three happen at different levels. Now, vegetative reproduction by fragmentation or formation of different types of spores. Asexual reproduction by flagellated zoospores produced in zoosporangia. You can see the diagram here. I mean, the cycle you remember, isn't it? The zoosporangia releases the zoospores, and then they fuse, and the thallus is formed. The sexual reproduction is isogamous, anisogamous, and oogamous. The same thing what we saw in the last one. Phyophyceae or brown algae. They are mostly marine forms. They show great variation in size and form. They range from simple branched filamentous forms, that is ectocarpus, to profusely branched forms, example kelps, 100 meters in height. See, these kelps, I mean, I don't know if you have seen Discovery Channel or those kind of videos. I mean, like scuba diving or people going research for underwater with the oxygen tank and all that. I mean, there will be a lot of green plants-like thing. I don't know if you have seen. You can see here the kelp. So those are all kelps. Algae is very big. The kelps is a very big, tall, like a plant. But it's an algae, 100 meter in height. I mean, not every kelp is 100 meter in height, but it can go up to 100 meter in height. So they have chlorophyll, A, C, carotenoid, and xanthophylls. They vary in color from olive green to brown depending upon the amount of xanthophyll pigment, fucoxanthin. Now, food is stored as complex carbohydrates, laminarin and mannitol. The vegetative cells have a cellulosic wall covered by a gelatinous coating of algin. Protoplast contains plastids, central vacuole, and nucleus. Plant body is attached to substratum by a holdfast and has a stalk and a leaf-like photosynthetic organ. Example, ectocarpus, dictyota, laminaria, sargassum, and fucus. You can see some pictures here. Laminaria here at the bottom, fucus, and dictyota, and then ectocarpus. These two. I mean, this is enlarged picture. and sargassum. I mean, these have, I mean, or greenish brown, olive green, or brown, reddish brown, like that. Now, reproduction, vegetative reproduction is by fragmentation. By now, we know that. And then asexual reproduction by pear-shaped biflagellate zoospores have two unequal laterally attached flagella. Sexual reproduction isogamous, anisogamous, oogamous. The union of gametes occur in water within the oogonium, that is oogamous species. Gametes are pear-shaped pyriform bearing two laterally attached flagella. So are you able to remember whatever you have read because we are just going through the points?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. Now, rhodophyceae, that is the red algae. They have red thalli. Thalli is a plural, thallus is a singular. Due to red pigment or phycoerythrin, that is a pigment present in the red thalli. Majority are marine, especially in warmer areas. They occur in both well lighted regions close to the surface of water at great depths in ocean where relatively little light penetrates. So in both well lighted regions also you can find such plants, and I mean deep down also where not much light penetrates, there also you can see these algae. Then most of them are multicellular. Some have complex body organization. Food is stored as Floridian starch, which is structurally very similar to amylopectin and glycogen. These things, I mean, there are a lot of things. What I suggest is even last year, I used to tell the students, I don't know, since you're all finished 11th and joined it at 12th, you can start maintaining from the unit 1, you can start maintaining like you can chapter wise you can take a book, I mean notebook for unit 1 chapter wise, whatever points you're reading you can just note it down with the terminologies, and in within the brackets short, very short, you can write the meaning of this terminologies if in case if you think you will not remember when you look back. So you can maintain such things. By September, October, you will be done with the entire book for 11th. And for 12th also we can do that. I mean, during Saturday, Sundays, whenever you get, you can start. So that will help you in two ways, children. You can read the chapter. When you note down the points, you will be reading the chapter once again. That will be like a good study for you. Memorize. And when you note it down, you will remember better, and that will come a very good help, very handy when you are preparing for the NEET exam. I mean, when you're I mean trying to solve the question paper, past question papers or whatever, writing a test or whatever, and preparing for that. I mean, just go through this whatever book you have maintained. I think that should be sufficient for the preparation. NCR, from the NCRT, I'm saying, all of you should buy a NCRT book. I don't know, by now you should be knowing. Whichever state syllabus book you have, that may not be sufficient. You should have a NCRT biology book for class 11 and 12. So from based on that book, you can prepare this summary book so that you can use it for the preparation. Just you can go through it, you will remember everything, and you can do the exam wonderfully well. I mean, this is not only for the NEET, even for the school exams, it will be very helpful, children. All right. Now we are coming back to this. Now this one, rhodophyceae, most of them are unicellular. Some have complex body organization. Food is stored as Floridian starch, which is structurally very similar to amylopectin and glycogen. That is Polysiponia, Porphyra, Gracilaria, and Geladium. So this is only is agar, isn't it? Red algae. Now the reproduction, vegetative fragmentation, asexual by non-motile spores. That means that they don't have flagella. And sexual reproduction is oogamous. They have only one type of sexual reproduction, that is oogamous. By non-motile gametes, it has complex post-fertilization developments. Now, a comparison of algae, that is the chlorophyceae, phyophyceae, and rhodophyceae. That is common name is green algae, brown algae, and red algae. Major pigment chlorophyll AB in chlorophyceae, and phyophyceae is chlorophyll AC and fucoxanthin, and rhodophyceae is chlorophyll AD. So chlorophyll A is present in all the three. Okay, B, C, and D are in the chlorophyll, chlorophyceae and phyophyceae and rhodophyceae respectively. And phycoerythrin is additionally present in rhodophyceae. All right, stored food, it's stored in the presence of starch in chlorophyceae, mannitol and laminarin in phyophyceae, and floridian starch in rhodophyceae. Cell wall is cellulose in chlorophyceae, cellulose and algin in phyophyceae. Then again cellulose in rhodophyceae. Flagellar number and position of insertion, that is 2 to 8 equal apical. This phyophyceae is 2 unequal lateral, and those things are absent in rhodophyceae. Then habitat, where do you find these things? Fresh water, that is chlorophyceae is fresh water, salt water, and brackish water. Okay, and then phyophyceae is fresh water, rare. You don't find much of it in fresh water, salt water, and brackish water. Brackish water is the fresh water, some of them you can see the fresh water, and salt water is most, and brackish water is normally you will find them. So this is the classification of the different types of algae comparison. Next we go to the bryophytes. Now bryophytes we say is amphibian of the plant kingdom, because they can live in soil but need water for sexual reproduction, because suppose they swim in the water, and then in the presence of water only reproduction takes place. They occur in damp, humid, and shaded localities. Now, body is more differentiated than that of algae. Algae is very primitive. Bryophytes is slightly higher in, classification. It is thallus-like and prostrate, erect, and attached to the substratum by unicellular and multicellular rhizoids. Okay, you can see rhizoids is here. Main axis, and then these are leaves, and this is seta and capsule. This is a sporophyte. That is the stem-like thing. What you see is a sporophyte, and the leaves and roots, that is the gametophyte. Okay. They lack true roots, stem, or leaves. When they look like stem or leaves, but actually it's not roots or stem or anything. They don't have the stem. They can't cling to anything. You can just, if you try to pull it, we can pull it very easily. That's what it means. They may possess root-like, leaf-like, stem-like structures. The main plant is haploid. It produces gametes, hence it is called gametophyte. Then bryophytes, female gametophyte is archegonium with egg, and male gametophyte is antheridium with sperm. And then we have bryophytes have of liverwort. That is the thallus has the uh, like the stem like archigospore and anthridiospore. And then that they have the rhizoids at the bottom, and then from that they develop rhizome liver. This is the illustration is the liverwort. The sex organ in bryophytes are multicellular. Male sex organ is antheridium, produces biflagellate antherozoids, and female sex organ is archegonium, is flask shaped and produces a single egg. And antherozoids are released to water and meet archegonium. An antherozoid fuses with the egg to form zygote. Zygotes do not undergo meiosis immediately. They produce a multicellular body called a sporophyte. The sporophyte is not free living but attached to the photosynthetic gametophyte and derives nourishment from it. You can see here female gametophyte, male gametophyte. Some cells of the sporophyte undergo meiosis to produce haploid spores. These spores germinate to form gametophyte. Now, this is all about the reproduction of the bryophytes. So, I mean, as in when we did the summary, you would have recollected because it's a very lengthy. I mean, explaining the reproduction of bryophytes is going to be very lengthy. So, I mean, I don't mind doing it if really you want. Otherwise, we can move on. Now, importance of bryophytes. Some mosses provide food for herbaceous mammals, birds, etc. What is herbaceous? Mammals which eat only leaves and vegetables. Feed only on plants. That is herbaceous. Species of sphagnum, a moss, provide peat. It is used as fuel. It has water holding capacity so that used as packing material for transshipment of living material. Okay, this is the speed, the sphagnum. They are ecologically important because of their role in plant succession on bare rocks. See, this is the initial level, after algae, bryophytes is the initial stage of, once the bryophyte starts coming in a place, it means the vegetation is start coming, growing. So on bare rocks. I don't know, you should when you have time, you should read about the volcanoes and eruptions. When volcano erupts, what happens is the entire region, wherever it erupts, the entire region, all the vegetation is, completely eradicated. It takes so many years, hundreds of years, to come. The vegetation for in that area to come back. So, in such conditions, in rocks and such places, first only bryophytes slowly start coming in. Then, once it starts coming in, and then slowly, other classes of plants, higher order of plants also starts coming. So, the initial one is only the bryophytes. So, that's why bryophytes are very important. On bare rock soil, mosses along with lichens decompose rocks, making the substrate suitable for growth of higher plants. Since mosses form dense mats on the soil, they can prevent soil erosion. Now, types of bryophytes is liverworts and mosses. Now, liverworts, they grow usually in moist, shady habitats such as banks of streams, marshy ground, damp soil, bark of trees, and deep in woods. Their plant body is thalloid and thallus is dorsine. ventral, and closely appressed to the substrate. Dorsal ventral means it has the upper and the lower part. That's what it means. The leafy members have tiny leaf-like appendages in two rows on the stem-like structures. Now, reproduction of liverworts, asexual reproduction by fragmentation of thalli or by the formation of gamete. Singular is gemma. The gemmi are green multicellular asexual buds that develop in small receptacles, that is gamma cup. You can see the here, gamma cup in the picture on the thalli. And the gemmae are detached from the parent body and germinate to form new individuals. This is how the fragmentation of thalli happens. And then sexual reproduction. Male and female sex organs are produced on the same or different thalli. Sometimes in the same or in the different thalli. The sporophyte is differentiated into foot, seta, and capsule. As I told you, that is the bottom one and the middle portion and the top one. After the meiosis, spores are produced within the capsule. These spores germinate to form free living gametophyte. So you can see from the, are you all able to see it clearly? You can see from the pictures. Now mosses. The predominant stage of the life cycle of mosses is gametophyte. It consists of two stages. First stage is protonema stage and the second stage is leafy stage. The protonema stage, it develops directly from a spore. It is a creeping, green, branched, and frequently filamentous stage. And what is a leaf stage? It develops from the secondary protonema as a lateral bud. They consist of upright, slender axis bearing, spirally arranged leaves. They are attached to soil through a multicellular and branched rhizoids. This stage bears a sex organ. You can see the rhizoids here, bottom. The bottom portion of the leafy stage. And then vegetative reproduction by fragmentation and budding in secondary protonema. Sexual reproduction, it happens by antheridia and archegonia, are produced at the apex of the leafy shoots. The upper portion of the leafy shoots. And after fertilization, zygote develops to a sporophyte having a foot, seta, and capsule. The sporophyte in the mosses is more elaborate than in liverworts. So the capsule contains spores. Spores are formed after meiosis. Mosses have an elaborate mechanism of spore dispersal. Even for the dispersal of spores, they need water. That's why we say, they can reproduce only in the presence of water. So this is a capsule. This is the capsule. This stem is the seta, and this is like leaf structure. And from the this portion is the gametophyte, and the upper portion is the sporophyte. And in this anthradial branch, this branch is the anthradial branch, and the lower one, like stem-like thing that you can see here, that is the archegonial branch. You can see like buds, that is the archegonial branch. Now, the third classification is the pteridophytes. So far what we have seen, algae, bryophytes, and next we are going to the pteridophytes. Now they include horsetails and ferns. So ferns is a very common, even some ferns are used as indoor plants. So you would be familiar with ferns. So they are found in cool, damp, shady places. Some flourish well in sandy soil condition. So evolutionarily, they are the first terrestrial plants to possess vascular tissues, xylem and phloem. Please remember this, note this point. So they are the first terrestrial plants to possess what? Vascular tissues, xylem and phloem. And then in bryophytes, the dominant phase is a gametophyte. In the pteridophytes, the dominant phase, main plant body, is a sporophyte. It is differentiated into true root, stem, and leaves. These organs have well differentiated vascular tissues. The leaves in pteridophyte are small microphylls, as in Selaginella, or large macrophylls, as in ferns. So this is the Selaginella and this is the ferns. You can see the difference, right? When you see a fern, you should be able to say whether it is Selaginella or fern. So you can see from the picture, and Selaginella and fern, these pteridophytes are all asked in question a lot. And even we solved many many MCQs last week. They are used for medicinal purposes. They are used as soil binders. They are grown as ornamentals. That is inside, I mean, even the indoor plants, we have lot of ferns. Now, the reproduction, the sporophytes bear sporangia that are subtended by leaf-like appendages. Like, see, appendages is structure, okay? Now, you can see, I mean, like hanging, the buds-like thing hanging there, that is a sporangia. Called sporophylls. I mean, the sporophyte bear sporangia that are subtended by leaf-like appendages called sporophylls. I mean, it is hanging from the sporophylls. All right. In some cases, sporophylls form distinct compact structures called strobili or cones. You can see here. Strobili, here you can see in the Selaginella, the strobili is like this, and equisetum, the cone is like this. That is a cone or strobili. Strobili is plural and strobilus is singular. And the sporangia produces spores by meiosis in spore mother cell. The spores germinate to give inconspicuous, small, multicellular, free-living, mostly photosynthetic thalloid gametophyte called prothallus. You can see fern prothallus here. This is how the fern prothallus is. And then, from that, the prothallus requires cool, damp, shady places to grow. Also, it needs water for fertilization. So the spread of pteridophytes is limited and restricted to narrow geographical regions. The gametophytes or the prothallus bear male and female sex organs called antheridia and archegonia, respectively. You can see here, this is the antheridium, and this one, here is the archegonia. Okay, so both are present in the thallus. Now, reproduction. Again, how this is developing into a sporophyte. Water is needed for transfer of anthrozoids. That is the male gametes from antheridia. Antheridia is a male, which has the male gametes, that is the anthrozoids, to the mouth of archegonium. It takes, water takes it to the archegonium, and then Anthrazoid fuses with the egg in the archegonium to form zygote. The zygote develops to a multicellular, well differentiated sporophyte. And then pteridophytes again, how it the from that how it develops. Most of the pteridophytes produce similar kinds of spores, that is homosporous plants. Other produce two kinds of spores, macro and microspores, and they are heterosporous. I mean, both kind of spores are produced. That's why it is gelaginella and salvinia are heterosporous. The megaspore and microspores germinate and gives rise to female and male gametophytes. That is, a megaspore gives rise to female gametophyte, and the microspore gives rise to male gametophyte. The female gametophyte are retained on the parent sporophyte for variable periods. Within female gametophytes, zygotes develop into young embryos. This event is a precursor to the seed habit. It is considered as an important step in evolution. You have the cycle here. How it's from the sporophyte. The sporophyte is formed, thallus is formed, and thallus. Then from this, the adult sporophyte, how it is formed. That cycle is given here. And then classes of pteridophytes. Psilopsida, Lycopsida, Phenopsida, and Pteropsida. Four classes are there. And then the Selaginella comes in Lycopsida. Equisetum comes in Pinospora. So that's all about the pteridophytes. I mean, we are just, looking at various characteristic features and how the sexual behavior is there, how the plant, what are the morphological features are there. Everything we are seeing for every types of plants. Now next is gymnosperm. Yeah. Are you able to see the gymnosperms? Gymnos means naked. Sperma means seeds. I mean, it does not, I mean, the seed is naked. I mean, are the plants in which the ovules are not enclosed by ovary wall. That's why it's gymnosperm and remain exposed before and after fertilization. So the seeds that develop for post fertilization are not covered. So, like for example, pine cones. So gymnosperms, I mean, you can see here the gymnosperm ovule and angiosperm ovule. You can see the difference. See the angiosperm ovule, I mean, it is enclosed. The nucellus, and then it's inside the ovary wall and everything. Now here it is just the nucellus is present, micropyle is there, and integument is there, and megasporocyte is there. So just that is the gymnosperm ovule, and this is the angiosperm ovule. Now gymnosperm include medium-sized trees and tall trees and shrubs. The gymnosperm sequoia, giant redwood, is the tallest tree species. The roots are generally tap roots. Roots in some genera have fungal association in the form of mycorrhiza, that is a pinus. They have this fungal association. And in plants like cycas are basically ornamental plants. Some specialized roots, caroloid roots, are associated with nitrogen fixing cyanobacteria. And stems are unbranched or branched, that is pinus or cedrus. Leaves are simple or compound, can be anything, both the types are seen. They are well adapted to withstand extreme temperatures, humidity, and wind. In cycas, the pinnate leaves persist for a few years. In conifers, that is the pinus and cedra, the needle-like leaves reduce the surface area. Their thick cuticle and sunken stomata also help to reduce water loss. This is a strobili, you can see. So gymnosperms are heterosporous. They produce haploid microspores and megaspore, both the female sex organ and male sex organ are both present in the same plant. Therefore, it is heterosporous. Some leaves are modified into sporophylls. They are compactly and spirally arranged along an axis to form lacs or strobili or cones. So it looks the cones look like this. That is a cycas male cone. This is a cross section of the cone. The the big ones are pollen grains. That is the one holding it is the microsporophyll. The sporophylls bear sporangia in which spores are produced. Sporophylls are two types, microsporophylls and megasporophylls. Microsporophylls, they are arranged to male strobili or microsporangiate. They bear microsporangia. The microspores developed into male gametophyte. It is highly reduced and confined to only a limited number of cells. This gametophyte is called pollen grain. The pollen grains are developed within the microsporangia. And the second one is the megasporophylls. They are arranged to female strobili, that is a megasporangiate. They bear megasporangia, that is ovules. Megasporangium mainly consists of a body called nucellus. It is protected by envelopes. The megaspore mother cell is differentiated from a cell of nucellus. The megaspore mother cell undergoes meiosis to form 4 megaspores. So that we have seen already. I mean, you would have read that when you were in 11th. One of the 4 megaspores enclosed within the megasporangium, that is the nucellus, develops into a multicellular female gametophyte that bears 2 or more archegonia. The multicellular female gametophyte is also retained within megasporangium. The male or female cones may be born on the same tree or on different trees. It can be on the same tree. I mean, both can be on the same tree or different tree, depending on which tree it is. Pinus has both cones in the same tree, but cycas has it has only one type of cone in a tree. It can be either of the two. Unlike bryophytes and pteridophytes, in gymnosperms, the male and the female gametophytes do not have an independent free living existence. They remain within the sporangia retained on the sporophytes. The pollen grain released from the microsporangium or carried in air currents and
Madam,
meet the
madam,
open.
1 minute. One Pukal is actually raising his. Pukal, what is your problem? Can you tell me? Pukal, you switch on your mic and then speak. No, I think by mistake he must have pressed something. Okay. Carry on, madam, please.
Okay, sir. Uh, you can see, you can follow from this diagram, children. The pollen grains released from the microsporangium are carried in air currents.
Miss, ఇది ఎన్నో మమ్స్ క్లాసా?
Huh?
మిస్
இல்லப்பா
ఇది ఎన్నో
இல்லப்பா
మమ్స్
இது
క్లాసా?
இது என்எம்எம்எஸ் கிளாஸ் இல்லப்பா. என்எம்எம்எஸ் கிளாஸ் நாளைக்கு, இன்னைக்கு இல்லை. ஓகே, தேங்க்யூ மேடம்.
Are carried in air currents. I mean, the microsporangium are carried in air currents and meet the opening of the ovule. Okay? And then the pollen tube carrying the male gametes grow towards archegonia in the ovules and discharge their contents near the mouth of the archegonia. After fertilization, zygote develops into an embryo and the ovules into seeds. So you can see this clearly. Here the cycle you can see yourself. So that's all about the gymnosperm. Now we come to the largest group of plants, that is the angiosperms. Now angiosperms are basically flowering plants. That's an exceptionally large group of plants. They range in size from tiny, almost microscopic Wolfia to tall trees of eucalyptus over 100 meters. They are divided into two classes, dicotyledonous and monocotyledonous. Dicotyledonous have two cotyledons in seeds. That's why dicotyledon, monocotyledon, they'll have only one. Can you tell me one example? I mean, this is continuously asked questions in MCQ in Neet, past Neet questions. So please note this one, children. Wheat seed or wheat is a monocotyledon. By now you should be knowing. So have two cotyledons in seeds. That's why they are dicotyledon, and reticulate venation in leaves. Tetramerous or pentamerous flowers, or 4 to 5 members in each floral wall. Okay, that is a floral arrangement, what he is talking about. Monocotyledons, corn, I mean, he has given an example of corn, have only one cotyledon, that is parallel venation in leaves. Trimerous flowers, that is 3 members in each floral whorl. You can see here. You can see the dicotyledonous flower, that is hibiscus and such things. It is tetramerous or pentamerous. Now monocotyledon, you can see trimerous, 3 petals. Now angiosperm flowering plants reproduction. Flower is the reproductive structure. So the flowers are not borne by the tree for anybody to admire or like or anything. It's for its own purpose. We are only using it. So flower is actually the reproductive structure in the plant. Male sex organ in a flower is the stamen. Each stamen consists of a filament with an anther at the tip. So together it's called stamen. Within the anthers, the pollen mother cells divides by meiosis to produce microspores which matures into pollen grains. From the pollen mother cells, by meiosis, microspores are produced, and that matures to give the pollen grains. All right. Now, female sex organ in a flower is a pistil. Now, it consists of a swollen ovary at its base, a long, slender style and stigma. Ovary consists ovules. An ovule has a megaspore mother cell that undergoes meiosis to form four haploid megaspores. Three of them degenerate and only one divides to form embryo sac. Each embryo sac has a three-celled egg apparatus, one egg cell and two synergids, and three antipodal cell and two polar nuclei. Now, before we go to the next slide, I want to know what are, do you all remember? I mean, you already answered, Akshay already answered this one during when we were doing the questions. Others, do you remember uh, what comes to your mind when we say egg cell and polar nuclei in angiosperm? Nobody? Nobody remembers? That's very bad because that is a characteristic feature of the angiosperms, right? Double fertilization. We'll be reading that. The polar nuclei eventually fuse to produce a secondary nucleus that is 2n. And the pollen grains are dispersed from the anthers and carried by wind or other agencies to the stigma of a pistil. It is called pollination. The pollen grains germinate on the stigma, and the resulting pollen tubes grow through the tissues of stigma and style and reach the ovule. The pollen tubes enter the embryo sac where the male gametes, two male gametes, one not one, just two, are discharged. One male gamete fuses with the egg to form the zygote, that is syngamy, and then the other male gamete fuses with the diploid secondary nucleus to produce triploid primary endosperm nucleus, that is the pen. Because of the involvement of two fusions, this event is called double fertilization. It is an event unique to angiosperms. A question, sure question, is there in this children. In plant kingdom, 11th standard, somewhere this question is going to come. I'm telling you. So, where next time when we are doing a question, all of you don't sit and be wondering what where we somewhere we know came to know of this. No, you have to be sure about all these terminologies. Zygote develops into an embryo with one or two cotyledons. Pen develops into endosperm, which provides nourishments to the developing embryo. The synergids and antipodal degenerate after fertilization. Now, during these events, ovule develop into seeds and ovaries develop into fruit. The seeds are enclosed by fruits. Alternation of generations. In plants, both haploid and diploid cells can divide into mitosis. This forms haploid and diploid plant bodies that we know by cell division. So the haploid plant body, that is the gametophyte, produces gametes by mitosis. Now, after fertilization, the zygote also divides by mitosis to produce diploid plant body, that is a sporophyte, and this produces haploid spores by meiosis. Spores divide by mitosis to form a haploid plant body. Thus, during the life cycle of any sexually reproducing plant, there is an alternation of generations between gametophyte and sporophyte. That is a haploid and diploid. Gametophyte stage is haploid and sporophyte stage is diploid. Please remember that, don't get confused. Now, haplontic stage. In this sporophytic generation is represented only by zygote. The zygote under form gametophyte. The dominant photosynthetic phase is the free living gametophyte. Example algae such as Volvox, Spirogyra, and some species of Chlamydomonas. So you can see here, this is haplontic. In this, the gametogenesis happens syngamy, and then zygote is formed, and then we using meiosis, then spores are released, then again it comes to the, it becomes a haploid gametophyte stage. And then diplontic. In this, the diploid sporophyte is a dominant photosynthetic independent phase. The gametophytic phase is represented by the single to two-celled haploid gametophyte. That is algae, fucus, all seed-bearing plants, gymnosperms, angiosperms. The gametophytic phase is few to multi-celled. That is, you can see here. After the gametogenesis, then meiosis, and then syngamy takes place. Then zygote, that is diploid. Okay, then from there, the sporophyte. Sporophyte is again diploid. And then that comes to the gametogenesis. Again meiosis, then haploid. Then again it fuses and syngamy. So it alternates. So this is the dominant, but the sporophyte or the diplontic stage is a dominant stage, that is a photosynthetic independent phase. Haplodiplontic is the where the intermediate condition where between haplontic and diplontic. Both gametophyte and sporophyte are multicellular and often free living, but they have different dominant phases. Example, bryophytes and pteridophytes. So with this, we come to the end of plant kingdom. So since now it's already 8:45, I'm not going to start animal kingdom. As I told you, we will do the animal kingdom in the next class.
Okay, madam, no problem.